Welcome, you guys. We are now having our little, please don't do that. Don't you love like when your equipment does what you're supposed to do and then it doesn't do what you're supposed to do? I think that this is, there we go. You're notifying all the people that we're live. I'm sure most of you are at your job. Maybe you're on your lunch break. We are doing a special series with Special Strong, so we're excited you're here. We're gonna have the great Daniel Stein join us. I hope you guys are paying attention and not skipping work. I had somebody the other day on an IEP meeting that was one of the stakeholders, and they literally were driving down the freeway in their minivan. She goes, and I said, so that makes me nervous that you're driving. She goes, do you want me to turn my camera off? No, I want you to. I'm pretty sure the law says that you don't drive distracted, so I want you to like pull over. That would be great. So pull over instead of driving. Invite another host. Let's see. I'm gonna invite, and so I'm so good at this. I think I'm good at this. We're about to find out, right? Special. There's so many specials. Let's see. I will wait. They will wait, and then they will join. I can answer a couple questions while we're waiting for Daniel to jump on. Can a lab teacher give all grades in 1 hour? I don't know. That would be miraculous, but teachers do miraculous things every day. Let's see. You guys can ask me questions if you want, or we're waiting for the great Daniel to jump on. I think I've gone a little crazy with this lipstick today. Yes. Are you guys having a good back to school year? Does everybody have your kids' IEP? Have any recommendations or referrals for an attorney against the YMCA for discrimination? So you don't need an attorney if you're going to file discrimination. You can, hang on. Let me log off. Okay, can y'all hear me now? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. So we were gonna go, now you can hear me? Anybody, can y'all hear me? Yay! All right, so we're gonna do a few minutes of questions since we're live and you guys are skipping work or yay. So put in your questions in the chat and then I will answer as many as I can for the next 20 minutes, special ed questions. We're really passionate about you guys getting back to school with a great year. We were in the academy last night and I hope you guys are all members of the academy. You are going to have to provide your IEP to your school-based members. That's just the way it goes. If you know the hoops that you have to jump through for school-based members, we had several teachers on last night. So here's an IEP that I have for a kiddo that I just served, and nothing unusual about it, but it's 45 pages long, right? So if you think that your teachers have that, be sure. Why are there one-on-one pairs in New York but not many in Florida? So one-on-one just depends on the needs of the students. Those are hard to get, but you can certainly get them with good representation. Can a public school deny a transfer student for life skills because he's in life skills? Transfers are really based upon a number of things, right? Your campus has to release that student and the other campus has to accept them. So there's a bunch of reasons that go into play. That's why I'm not a fan of transfers, because you have to redo it every year. My daughter has an IEP. College still have to follow her supports in the plan. Colleges supply accommodations. So the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 was about accommodations for people with disabilities. What should I do if my teacher is flat out refusing to implement your IEP? I would file, get an advocate, and help you file. How do you approach reading difficulties and dyslexia in particular? So I'm a huge fan of Learning Ally, ALLY, and having kids use that for 20 minutes a day, 365 days a year. Really mitigates all four components of reading fluency, comprehension, basic reading, and those phonemic awareness deficits. School is delaying a meeting to finalize an IEP. What can I do? I would just capture it. Let me see. Para, how can I be at an IEP? Special education director denies me being there. Yeah, so Sarah, we love paraprofessionals. They are the backbone of special education. Very rare that any school district is going to allow you to be at a meeting. That's unfortunate. In fact, we're about to start a series on paraprofessionals, their responsibilities, duties, and how they help us. In fact, we're starting it. It's interesting that you said that. So next week, we're going to be starting a series, the paraprofessional role. My 5th grade son is an IEP with ADHD. Do you recommend me opt out of the STAR? I don't recommend that anybody opt out of state testing. Just, you know what? Just get it over with and do the best you can. I'm a para too. I wish we could be at the meetings. I know paras are amazing. We love the paras. Paras changed my son's life and so many of our kids' lives. So, yeah, it is your responsibility, though, if you're parents, that you make sure that all the people providing your child an educational product have received their IEP, because it's not something that they're handed before school in most school districts. So I would print that out and give a copy to all core teachers, their ancillary teachers or elective teachers, anybody that's serving those kiddos. For sure, for sure. Preschooler has IEP. Preschool states they cannot keep him if it's safe due to staffing. If your student has an IEP, they have to provide him an education and denied him enrollment. You can't deny a child enrollment if they have an IEP. What do I do when admin is making me pull students beyond the resource mittens written in their IEP? So I would just reach out to admin via email so you have it captured, right? I believe that what you're asking me to do is a violation of my certification and it makes me uncomfortable. School sanction denied FAPE for 3-year-old, finally doing it now, senior year waste of time. I pay for his, so sorry. They want him to switch schools. So if they're little, Sarah, and they want him to switch schools, if it's a program that serves them, you might want to look in that. They want to hold my child back, but don't want to give her an IEP. So I would get in writing, why are you wanting to retain my student? And if they're denying your child an IEP, make sure that you get that denial in a prior written notice. Make sure that prior written notice that you have captures all 7 of the federal requirements in it. I got a prior written notice the other day, and 4 of the 7 things were NA. No, they're not applicable. You can't put not applicable. They're federal requirements. So make sure that that's populated really well. If you have any questions about special ed, just type them in. We are gonna, 5th grade ADHD kiddo about to have a meeting about updating his 504 to IEP. That's good, write IEP goals. What if a district does not respond to PWN? Well, that's illegal. You have to provide the parent a PWN. It's their obligation. And then I would email back and say, I'm wondering when I'll be receiving my prior written notice. Thanks you guys for the gifts. How do you deal with campus wanting to suspend child for blurting out inappropriate staff? So, I mean, I would make sure that he has an FBA, a functional behavior assessment, so we can address those behaviors that impede his learning or the learning of others. Can you review the 7 legal requirements that can be in the PWN? So we just did a series on the Academy. You can watch it on the Academy. You can join the Academy for free for 15 days. If you go to specialeducationacademy.com and sign up for that, you'll get a 15-day coupon. But those requirements, we just finished a series. What should I know about the difference between 504 and an IEP? A 504 is a document that gives a child with disability accommodations. An IEP is an individualized education plan that provides the student services, supports, goals, and additional help from special educators. You're very knowledgeable. How can I become an advocate? So we have an amazing 2-day training at Special Education Academy that will get you ready to roll out and serve kiddos from coast to coast. And then after that, we have a mastermind. I wish you were in California. You're awesome. Thank you. So I advocate from the Kodiak Islands to Miami to Massachusetts to Anaheim. So if you need representation, we have a team of 10 advocates. So reach out to advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. Having trouble getting a child tested for IEP. So here's the email that you write. Dear staff, this is my formal request for my student to have special education testing. Areas of suspected disability or learning behavior and attention. We look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. Dyslexia app again, Reading Ally, how do you find it? So it's Learning Ally is the software that I would use for reading. Learning Ally. Is a general ed teacher who has intervention specialist credentials considered a SPED teacher? Well, it depends. They're either a special educator or they're a general educator. You can't have both roles. It's a waste of time to finally get eligibility for a 12th grader. It is tough. Can you switch from an IEP to a 504? Yeah, if you think that your child no longer needs support, they just need accommodations, then you could switch. I would never have one of my kids switch from an IEP. The broader legal protections sit inside of an IEP. When will you be doing a para session? I may have missed the date. So we're starting a paraprofessional series starting next week. So that will be whatever next week is. Tuesday nights we have the Academy, and we'll start a series on working with paraprofessionals, their responsibilities, duties, and obligations, limitations, and their amazing successes. So an IEP would have someone come to class with him. An IEP puts in special ed services in those content areas, transition, or locations that he needs support. Is it worth a fight to have my senior switch from 504 and IEP? Probably not. For teachers, what's the law notifying them ahead to being asked to sit in for a child's IEP? So it's not about a law. Your staff can require you to be one of the stakeholders in IEP meeting. So the stakeholders are general ed teacher, special ed teacher, LEA representative, which is usually the principal, the parent, and of course somebody that does assessments or can answer questions about assessments. If possible, it's deemed that they would need support, but not necessarily. If you have an IEP, that they have to have support. FBA is not being implemented, nor BIP still wanting to suspend my child. So I would capture that in writing. Certainly one of the components when we're looking at a manifestation determination resolution meeting was the IEP implemented with fidelity. Fighting for my high school kid teachers to follow his 504 for heart condition. I'm so sorry. Thanks you guys for the gifts. My child is gifted, has ADHD and 504, but is being challenged academically. That might be a reason that we write an IEP that addresses the totality of his needs. What can I do for my son who's refusing to be in class because of anxiety? I mean, that's tough. If your child is struggling to attend school, you might consider meeting with the school and having consideration for homebound services. How to request an IEP? My son is starting kindergarten and doesn't have one. So you would need to request testing. So again, this is my formal request for my student to have special education testing areas of suspected disability or learning, attention, processing, any of that, we look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. Accommodations for dysgraphia. It depends on the acuity of the dysgraphia. Obviously, somebody's going to be helping them with that writing component. And so I would make sure that that's captured in the accommodations. You're welcome. My 8th grader is due for an evaluation. Anything I should request before she starts high school next year? So we just did a series on the 8 components of what you would ask for in an evaluation. I'm going to run through them really quickly. They are: number 1, speech and language evaluation to include pragmatic. Number 2, sociological. Number 3, medical physical. Number 4, a full cognitive evaluation to include all 7 Gs. Number 5, achievement to include reading, writing, math, oral expression, listening comprehension, adaptive behavior, a formal psychological evaluation to consider all eligibilities, possibly counseling as a related service or an FBA. And then last but certainly not least, related services and instructional services. How soon should supports for students with IEP start? The day the school opens. Thank you. They're doing eligibility for 12th grade, but pay for service. It seems like a waste of time. Who are you voting for? I'm voting for candidates. What happens if school originally only tested 2 out of the 7 tests for the IEP? I think you're talking about. Then you go back and ask, would they be, Rhonda, you would ask, would you be opposed to opening this evaluation and doing an addendum and finishing the totality of it? What to do when speech goals are not challenging enough? Child's meeting goals, but speech is worse. Then you need to write more robust goals with more specificity. What would my son qualify for homebound services with all the other services he's receiving in school? So homebound services are going to address your 4 core classes and then any related services, probably in a reduced measure so not to overwhelm him. Teacher recorded herself saying shh in his AAC device when she wants him to quiet. Is that normal? It's not only not normal, it's offensive. Ugh. Do you have any advice for college accommodations? Yeah, just go, the student with a disability will go to admissions and meet with the disability office and talk about the accommodations that would be helpful for that student to be successful in college. How's the fastest way to get my child tested for autism through the school? Same way, you just ask for a full and individualized evaluation, areas of suspected disability or autism, possibly a speech pragmatic. Make sure they do a full test. Thank you. I don't see what's wrong with it. She's using AAC to communicate. Shh is not a word. So the AAC device is to provide language. And shh is a little offensive. Can children test out of life skills class to get back into classroom? So Tanya, we're always looking at the LRE and the continuum of services. So we're looking at providing them, education in the most appropriate setting. Blah, blah, blah. What do you do when the classroom child is in 2 aides and one day there are no aides, only the teacher? So I would ask about, is there a staffing issue in the class and when will that be resolved? What to do if school has changed my child's ST last day year without notifying me until there was a time for IEP? So Sunny, I would email them and say, it appears that there is change in my child's IEP that was codified that we agreed upon. These are either clerical errors or this is in somebody's wrong paperwork. We need a meeting to review this and return it back to where it was. How would I request an amendment, have new goals written? Just call a review IEP meeting. You're welcome. If I want to revoke my child's IEP, do I have to write a statement? Yeah, you simply just say, this is, Cindy Smith. I'm revoking consent for special education and related services. Is it typical to have a school suggest mental health services for your child but not explain it? I don't know if it's typical. I think it's good that we're now looking at mental health and how important that is for kiddos. But, if you don't have enough information, just say, can you give me more information on that? My child was supposed to get speech and ESY, but I can't get progress reports. I got a call saying. So I would just email the special ed director and say, I need the progress reports from extended school year services. Teachers shouldn't be editing without SLP approval. SLP would never say, shh. Thank you, Claire. Would you give them extra speech at beginning of the year? No documentation. So I'm not about giving them extra services. We want to fold that in to where it's appropriate, right? We deliver the therapy, and then we work on those 3 things: generalization, maintenance, and fluency. So I might add an additional service every other week or so. Would there be any concern about having a child labeled with an IEP? So children don't have labels, boxes do. So it's an eligibility. And eligibility simply opens the door for services. So I want that eligibility so my student can have services. How often do you recommend an evaluation review done for IEP programs? So of course we're charged federally by doing new evaluations or considering them every 3 years, a triennial. There might be a time when we do evaluations quicker if there's been a new concern, a new need, or we don't believe the student has that eligibility anymore, then we would need to test him out as well. How soon after being approved for one-on-one aid do they have to provide the aid? So, I mean, that's sort of a unique situation, right? We agreed that you need a one-on-one aid. They're certainly going to have to hire somebody. My autistic son gets 20 to 30 minutes in the EC classroom and 20 to 30 minutes twice a week for speech. Reasonable? I mean, I don't know if it's I don't know the acuity of your child, right? So the federal law says that you have to, that we are charged with writing an IEP to enable the student to make progress in light of their unique circumstances. So a disability is not the unique circumstances, it's the characteristic of that disability, right? Their present levels, their medical conditions, all of those things together. Okay? How soon after being approved for one-on-one aid do they have to provide the aid? Again, they have to hire them. I just had my first successful IEP meeting. It's all because of what I've learned from your lives. Oh, that's so good, Mama. That's so good. Proud of you. Videos and website, thank you so much. Yeah, we have so much great training on our website, specialeducationacademy.com. We have the most amazing OCR training that you guys should avail yourself of. Our training is on there, and we love serving you. I'm just going to take a couple more questions, and I got to jump off. Grandson's IEP states aid, but school doesn't provide due to shortage. His IQ is 67. So if they haven't provided the IEP, you can file a state complaint, and myself or any of our team members can file a state complaint for you. I love how polished you look. Thank you. I think she was talking about compensatory time because no speech in ESY. She isn't responding to my messages. Tell me what your message is. First time I didn't cry after a meeting. That's so good. Are you a lawyer? Oh my goodness, no. I'm a non-attorney advocate. I am allowed to represent families in due process hearings in states that allow that. And I've been doing that since, this is my 9th year to do that. I probably at any point have 100 federal complaints open with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, and then always state complaints and mediations because we're going to get it right for kiddos. My child is in an IEP, but they kept her in the same grade 3 years straight when they asked me to get her to go to general ed. That's terrible. What is ESY, Extended School Year Services? Those are for students that have an IEP and they have documented regression on IEP goals with a profound amount of time to recoup them, or concern for loss of critical skills. So I love you guys. I got to jump off to my next call. We'll be back in a couple days with Daniel, and we'll get it together. We'll be better with all of this. But we love you. Remember, we get it right for the child. We get it right for everybody. Make sure that your staff members have your child's IEP accommodations in 504, and we'll see you guys in the next video.